Quantum healing, the future of medicine.
Okay, so we are on episode 11 and a continuation of the techniques of the quantum. And this is part 2, where I'm going to describe how does PTSD reverse? What is that process? As you're working with somebody and you're releasing all those heavy negative emotions out of the body, what is actually happening when you're doing that? And there's lots happening, so we'll discuss them. So again, you have the primary scenario, which one remembers or have a felt a sense of the trauma. We start there again because you definitely know what your traumas were, especially as you're going into this kind of therapy, because when we do that first initial intake, we actually walk you back into the different experiences you've had throughout life as far as you can remember. Some clients will even have a pre-verbal experience, or I've had people experience things that they were having traumas inside the womb. And during therapy, they'll remember these quite clearly. And these are great things to discover in yourself, because a lot of the pre-verbal things or pre-memory, we don't remember what they are, but we know it had an effect on us. That was something in the case of myself. My traumas started when I was an infant, which I saw going through this therapy. I myself remembered that very vividly and was able to release that right away. And I myself, treating people, have had that experience from pre-verbal experiences. They will suddenly remember these things, and also an experience and clear conversations they will remember while being traumatized in the womb of the mother. So these are amazing things, and things that we carry around that we didn't even know were there. So to be rid of those big heavy suitcases is quite a wonderful thing. I'm sure everyone would agree. So again, you have your primary scenario of what your trauma was. And a very interesting thing, the first step as you're reversing all of this victimization that's been going on and that you're holding, you start to wake up from, it's almost like you've been in a trance. It's like you've been on this tape that just endlessly goes round and round and round, and it puts you sort of in a trance. It's something you can't get out of. The mind does this. It just constantly remembers the trauma and repeats. You had dreams about it. It's awful, and you can't get rid of it. You cannot switch it off. But once you're releasing the actual negative emotions out of the body, you start to wake up from sort of this trance of being trapped in that scenario, and you'll begin to recognize the patterns they adopted, and you will also become uncomfortable with them. So you start to suddenly, out of the blue, start recognizing what you were doing in these patterns and repeating these behaviors. But you didn't realize it before, because it was sort of automatic. It was sort of ingrained into your mind and your body. So you fail to recognize it, and therefore you can't do anything about it. But once these emotions are released out of the body, you yourself start to recognize the patterns. Suddenly you see them and you're not comfortable with them. Remember, we talked about that place that you can get into with trauma where you sort of, I have to learn to live with it kind of thing. Now suddenly you'll find, oh my gosh, that was a pattern that I repeated, and I was just automatic, was not even thinking about it, and now I really don't want that. That is not something that I want to keep. And so as you're releasing week to week, and as that process of reversal marches on, you'll also suddenly develop, as it goes, an expression of a healthy self-image. So you start to lose, because you're dropping the patterns, you start to lose that victimization thinking. So you will start to regain your voice. You'll be expressive. You'll find you'll be able to express yourself again, and everything being bottled up in your throat and not saying anything due to trauma. And you begin to name and shift relationships. What you will find as you're releasing and voicing, finding that strength again is coming back. You find a lot of the times the relationships that you've developed while under this influence of post-traumatic stress disorder is not good. You will find your friends absolutely will shift. You'll get people that get attracted to certain groups of people that seem to have negative behavior. It's because like attracts like. So if you're shifting this dramatically, where things are dropping away and you're seeing the patterns and you're feeling uncomfortable with them, and you've suddenly realized the people around you, what I found were all sort of drama kings and queens. I mean, everything was a drama and would rope you into this awful cycle round and round of, stuff going on continually. And I didn't like it. And I tried to eventually, I was avoiding these people. So that's very interesting. Then you start to develop a healthy sense of boundaries. You don't want people pulling you into that kind of crazy, out of control emotional responses. You see a lot of that today. It's just crazy land. I mean, I call them the drama kings and queens because the least thing, it's like, it's such a big deal, and the anger and this and that. I found as I was getting better, as I was healing from the trauma, I didn't want that around me anymore. I really wanted just peace and quiet and order. This crazy emotional stuff and the people that, because I was that way too, I guess, was not a comfort zone for me anymore. And most people feel the same way. Suddenly your group of friends changes completely. And because you're changing and becoming more calm and more empowered again, you start attracting different kinds of people to you, because again, like attracts like. If you're one way, you're going to attract those people will come to you and feel comfortable around you. When you're no longer that way and you're not buying into this crazy triggering and emotional responses that a lot of people get into, they're not attracted to be with you either, because they need the bouncing off. Once you got the drama, you need more drama. And this, I think, is what I'm seeing very much in people that immerse themselves in social media, is they're getting attracted into people that want to talk about their dramas all the time, and it's catchy. People start to take that on. And again, like attracts like. So you suddenly find yourself, I think, in social media where everyone is overreacted, and this hysteria is awful for me to watch from the outside, and something I definitely would not want to immerse myself into. Whereas a lot of people are immersed into it, and they are oblivious that that's even going on, because they don't get it. If you go through this treatment, you start to get it. You're going, that's not what I want around me. I want more balance. I want more equilibrium. I want more calmness. I want more peace. I want more love around me. And that is not the environment to encourage that. So again, you start stepping away from that. And also now you start attracting a different kind of a person. It's more a person where your health level will attract that health level. So you'll start attracting into your world much more mentally healthy people. But it doesn't stop there. It keeps going. And what you will find as it marches again, as it's unraveling more, is again the unraveling of the psychosomatic armoring that you had developed as it was progressing into the trauma cycle. So unwinding occurs here with the actual hands-on manipulation of body tissues, and somatic memories and holding patterns that you were holding onto so dearly because you didn't understand that it was best to let it go, and you didn't know that process of letting go. Well, now suddenly by itself, as you're becoming more and more aware and more conscious of what's happening in your body, and these become uncomfortable to you too, you recognize the patterns. Somatic memories, the memories and the holding patterns begin to sort of collapse and unravel. And there's one key phrase to remember: trauma is uncoupled with sensation.